The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. It fell in thin, relentless sheets, turning the jungle floor into a sucking, muddy trap. Private Kenji Takeda pressed himself against the slick trunk of a banyan tree, barely daring to breathe. His uniform clung to his skin, soaked, heavy, and cold, but he didn't move. Movement meant sound. Sound meant death. Somewhere beyond the dense curtain of foliage, voices drifted through the rain, low, confident, foreign. American soldiers. A full platoon, at least 20 men. He had been watching them for hours now, studying their patrol pattern, counting steps, memorizing pauses. They thought this section of the island was clear. It wasn't. Kenji tightened his grip on his rifle. His fingers were wrinkled from the rain, but steady. He wasn't thinking about glory. He wasn't thinking about survival either. His orders had been simple: delay the enemy advance at any cost. He had repeated those words so many times they had hollowed out everything else inside him. The voices grew louder. Through the leaves, he saw them emerge, helmets bobbing, rifles slung casually, boots splashing through shallow water. They were tired, careless, laughing even. That was good. Carelessness made men predictable. Kenji exhaled slowly and shifted his weight, inch by inch, until he had a clearer angle. His position was elevated slightly on a natural ridge. From here, he could see the narrow trail they were funneling into, a choke point between two thick clusters of trees. Perfect. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a small grenade. Mud smeared across its surface. He wiped it clean with his sleeve, then held it still, listening to the rhythm of their approach. Closer, closer, 10 meters, 5. Now. He pulled the pin and lobbed it with precise force into the center of the formation. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then, a deafening blast shattered the jungle's silence. Birds exploded from the canopy. Men shouted. Chaos erupted. Kenji didn't wait. He fired. 1 shot. A soldier dropped. 2 shots. Another fell. He moved immediately, rolling away from his position before they could triangulate his location. Bullets tore through the leaves where he had just been. The Americans reacted fast, faster than he'd hoped, but confusion still gripped them. They were firing blind, shouting over each other, trying to locate an enemy they couldn't see. Good. Kenji crawled through the mud, circling to their flank. Every movement was calculated, deliberate. He knew this jungle better than they ever could. Every root, every dip in the ground, every shadow, it was all part of his strategy. He emerged behind a fallen log and raised his rifle again. Another shot. A man spun and collapsed. Sniper, someone yelled. Kenji allowed himself the faintest hint of satisfaction. Not pride, just confirmation. They were disoriented, exactly where he wanted them. But then something changed. The Americans regrouped. Their shouting turned into commands, sharp, controlled. They spread out, taking cover, scanning the jungle with discipline. One of them pointed toward Kenji's last firing position. They were adapting. Kenji's jaw tightened. This wouldn't be as simple as picking them off one by one anymore. A burst of gunfire ripped through the log he was hiding behind, splinters flying into his face. He flinched but didn't retreat. Instead, he reached for his last grenade. Timing. Everything depended on timing. He waited, counting under his breath as the firing paused, just for a second, as they shifted positions. 1, 2, 3. He stood just enough to throw. The grenade arced through the rain and landed behind a cluster of soldiers taking cover. Another explosion. More chaos. Kenji seized the moment and sprinted deeper into the jungle, boots slipping in the mud but never stopping. He needed to keep moving, keep them chasing shadows. A stationary target was a dead target. Behind him, the platoon surged forward, anger replacing confusion. They were hunting him now. Kenji slowed, crouching low as he reached a narrow ravine. Water trickled through it, masking sound. He slid down into it and followed its path, letting it carry him away from their direct line of pursuit. His breathing was controlled, his mind sharp. He had taken out several of them, but not enough. Not yet. The mission wasn't to win. It was to delay. He climbed out of the ravine and positioned himself once more, overlooking another narrow pass. The rain continued to fall, washing away footprints, erasing evidence. He became still again, invisible. Minutes passed. Then, movement. The platoon reappeared, slower now, cautious. No laughter this time. No carelessness. They scanned every inch of the jungle, rifles ready, nerves stretched tight. Kenji raised his rifle. One soldier paused, looking directly toward his position. For a moment, their eyes met across the rain-soaked distance. Kenji didn't hesitate. He fired, and as the shot echoed through the jungle once more, he shifted again, already disappearing, already preparing for the next strike. One man against many, but the jungle was his ally, and as long as he remained unseen, the platoon would never be safe.